Again, thank you for being on the call. I'm going to turn it over to Dave Iskowitz, our CEO of boxing, who can run you guys through it and introduce.
Thanks a lot, Ron. Thank you, everybody, for coming for the first conference call in the history of Roc Nation Sports. We're really excited to have our first show this Friday night, January 9th, from the theater at Madison Square Garden right here in New York, and we'll be broadcast live on Fox Sports 1. In our main event, we have Dusty Hernandez-Harrison taking on Tommy Rainone for the vacant WBC Continental America's Welterweight Championship. We have also a great co-featured bout featuring Tureano Johnson versus Alex Theran, and they will fight over 10 rounds for the vacant WBC Silver Middleweight Championship and the vacant WBA International Middleweight Championship. In addition to the great fights we have planned, we also have a great undercard, which has been previously announced. We have some great musical acts performing. We have DJ Mustard, who will be our DJ spinning all night, or actually I should say for the TV portion of the event. We have hosting the Voice of New York, Angie Martinez, and then performing a special performance in between the co-feature and the main event. We have Fabulous, who will be performing from the ring, as I said, in between the co-feature and the main event. Michael Buffer will be our ring announcer. Gus Johnson will be our blow-by-blow commentator, who will be working alongside Rich Murata. We also have a lot of special guests that are going to be at the fight. Those include Jay-Z, Rihanna, Carmelo Anthony, CeCe Sabathia, Victor Cruz, Sam Dew, Santa Gold, Melanie Fiona, Wardell, and Big Sean. We still have tickets available, starting at just $30. They're available for purchase at the Madison Square Garden box office, online at thegarden.com, and at all Ticketmaster outlets. And on Ticketmaster.com, $1 from each ticket sold will be donated to the Muhammad Ali Center. We also have a very impressive line of sponsors for this event. They include Budweiser, Douce, Geico, Hugh for Every Man, Jaybird, Puma, Sonic Drive-In, Tap Out, Tequila Casadores, Town Residential, and the Wyndham New Yorker Hotel. Also, I want to just run quickly through our Fight Week schedule, which was recently released. On Wednesday, the 7th, here in Manhattan, we have media workouts with the 4 TV fighters. That begins at 11 a.m. at Kingsway Gym. We also, on Thursday, have our weigh-in, which will have a media check-in time of 12:30, and that will be at the 4040 Club, also here in Manhattan. The weigh-in will be emceed by Michael Buffer and attended by Jay-Z and Fabulous. Fight night, doors open 6:30, first fight's 6:35. Fox Sports 1 is on the air at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Now I'd like to introduce one of the participants on this Friday's event. He is a fighter from Barranquilla, Colombia, who has a record of 17-1 with 9 KOs. He will be fighting coming off of 2 knockout victories in his last 2 fights. Most recently, he fought on December 5th and scored a 6-round knockout over Humberto Toledo in a fight in the Bahamas. He, as I said, has a record of 17-1 with 9 KOs from Barranquilla, Colombia, Alex El Principe Theran. Alex, would you like to go ahead and say a few words, please?
Alex, él te acaba de introducir. ¿Quieres saber si quieres decir unas palabras?
Bueno, contento, motivado con este compromiso, una pelea bastante importante en la ciudad de Nueva York. Vengo motivado, vengo bien preparado y nada, con ansias de que el día viernes 9 de enero empiece el combate.
He said he is very excited. He's very motivated. He knows that this is going to be a very big, important fight here in New York. He's very well prepared, and he's excited for the fight.
Thank you very much. Also, I want to correct myself. I was reading from the wrong fight record. Alex is coming off of a sixth round TKO victory over Jonathan Richard, which happened in Barranquilla, Colombia. So my apologies for that little snag. I guess now we'd like to Tina, if we could open it up to the media for Q&A.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions at this time, please press the number 1 key. Again, if you have any questions at this time, please press the number 1 key. Our first question is going to come from Mike Woods from Sweet Science. Please go ahead.
Hey, for taking the time to do the call. Appreciate it. Happy New Year to everyone. Question for Alex. Alex, for those of us who haven't seen you in action, can you please describe your fighting style for us? What type of a fighter are you?
Alex, él quiere saber para los que no te han visto, ¿cuál es tu estilo de boxeo? ¿Cómo es que peleas?
Bueno, tengo un estilo de boxeo bastante estilista, tengo movimientos de pierna muy rápido, no entro mucho a la candela, pero cuando entro combino, salgo, me muevo, bastante movimientos en el ring. Creo que van a ver un estilo de pelea bastante con buen movimiento y con buena rapidez.
He said that he has very fast legs, that you'll be seeing a lot of movement in the ring. He says he doesn't like to come with too much bite right away, but when he does move, it's impressive. It's a lot of movement, a lot of action.
Okay, and what does he know about his opponent? Give us a scouting report, please, on the guy he's fighting. What does he think of him?
Okay. Alex, quieren saber qué crees de tu competencia. ¿Los conoces o qué sabes de él?
Sí, tuvimos un enfrentamiento a nivel de selecciones con Selección Colombia y Selección de Bahamas en un torneo eliminatorio para Juegos Olímpicos de Beijing 2008 en eliminatoria, lo cual el triunfo fue para mí. Es un rival fuerte que siempre va buscando la pelea, que va para adelante, pero como lo vi la última pelea, no tiene, le falta un poco de defensa y bastante también le falta pegada. Entonces nosotros venimos preparados de la mejor manera y lo hemos estudiado para enfrentarlo de tal forma.
He said that they did have a matchup in 2008, one of the eliminations for the Olympics, and Alex did beat him. He feels that the fighter is missing defense, and Alex has studied his movements and his fights, and he's very well prepared for this matchup.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it. Be well.
And our next question is going to come from Lynn Satterfield from RingTV.com. Please go ahead.
Hey, how you doing? Question for Alex. Alex, so you beat Tureano as an amateur?
Alex, quieren saber si cuando peleaste con él ganaste y era, déjame ver cómo se dice. ¿Eras un amateur?
Sí, éramos amateur. Fue un enfrentamiento a nivel de selecciones y sí, la victoria fue para mí. Esto fue en el 2008.
Okay. He said yes, he was an amateur, and he did when it was in 2008.
Okay. And obviously, you have won, your last fight, but the fight before that, you were knocked out in the third round and dropped twice in that fight. How far away from that loss to Arif Magomedov are you mentally?
Quiere saber, él sabe que ganaste la última, pero la pelea antes de esa, perdiste en el tercer curso y dice que te caíste 2 veces. Quiere saber si estás preparado mentalmente después de esa pérdida.
Sí, creo que fue una derrota bastante dolorosa y tuvimos 2 caídas en ese último combate, pero ya gracias a Dios hemos venido preparándonos de la mejor manera, de la mejor forma, y también vamos mentalmente preparados físicamente, y creo que nosotros vamos a hacer una pelea muy diferente a aquella pelea que hicimos en Rusia.
He's saying that it was a very hurtful round, but he is much better prepared mentally. He's ready, and he's going to have a much different approach than that fight, and he's prepared.
I have a question for Dave. Dave, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Great. Obviously, this is this whole production. You have a lot of star power. Relative to the star power, you know, the boxers, you know, I guess depending on what people are there to see, they don't necessarily compare. Can you talk about the whole concept, the entertainment concept, from somebody who's been around the game for such a long time as yourself, the idea of this type of presentation?
Well, we kind of look around at fights and at boxing in general, and you know, if you're at a boxing event now, it really hasn't changed a tremendous amount in the last, you know, however many decades. And what we want to do is we want to really amp up the fan experience at the event. There are going to be other bells and whistles at the fight that I haven't even gotten into that are really going to make things more enjoyable for fans, that are going to keep the fans engaged. Those are the things we want to do. We want to make the in-arena experience more appealing to fans so that they're coming in to see a fight, but they're getting more than just the fights when they go to a fight.
How from Jay-Z's standpoint, I mean, I don't know if you could speak for him, how important is it for him to be present, say, at the weigh-in, and I guess is he going to be at the fights as well?
Well, he will be at the weigh-in and at the fight, and I think that should say how important it is to him.
Okay, and then I guess the last thing is, how did you guys go about selecting the fighters that you have on this card? Was you know, their relationship to the fans, their, you know, backgrounds, or did you just try to look at, you know, matchmaking competitive fights? Can you talk about how that was set up?
It was a mix. It was a mix of obviously, you know, fighters that we have relationships with, promoters we have relationships with, making good fights, building a card that's going to be appealing to, you know, to fans in New York, which is, you know, obviously an ethnic melting pot. So it was a variety of factors.
Well, just piggybacking on that, you know, with Dusty Harrison, he's fought at you know, the Garden, I think twice. How much thought was given to, you know, the fact that I know he drew a lot of people from the D.C. area, and can you talk about him as an attraction on this card as obviously the main event?
Yeah, I mean, Dusty, you know, he's a big attraction in D.C., and he does draw fans to the Garden. He, as you said, has a history fighting at the Garden. And I think, you know, you put him in a fight against a guy like Tommy Rainone, who's a New York guy who sells tickets himself and always comes to fight and is tough as nails. You know, you're going to have a good fight and one that's an attractive fight.
Dave, thanks a lot. Did you guys in fact sign Dusty? And if so, is he the first fighter you signed?
You probably read a report online, and that report is accurate.
Much, Dave. I really appreciate it.
And this is Ron again. Let me just add one other thing about Jay-Z, just so everyone on the call understands. You know, Jay is involved in every aspect of Roc Nation Sports. So, you know, and Roc Nation as a whole. So it certainly would not come as a surprise for him being there. As a matter of fact, it would probably come as a surprise of him not attending the fight. So as Dave said, that's 100% correct. It speaks for itself. But, you know, I do think it's important for everyone that hasn't dealt with Roc Nation and Roc Nation Sports in general, understand what kind of businessman, what kind of owner Jay-Z actually is. And he is, you know, involved in every step of the way in every decision.
Thank you very much, Ron. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks.
And our next question is going to come from Nestor Gibbs from theboxingvoice.com. Please go ahead.
Hi, my question is actually for Dave. Dave, are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, which, like Lem said, with such star power that you're bringing into this fight for this promotion, how does it make sense financially for Roc Nation to continue to put on these types of events when the theater only holds around 4,000 and you have so many people, so many big-name stars? Rihanna, just the fact that Rihanna and Fabulous will be there, those tickets will be sold out. So how does it make sense?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, you're attracting, you have big name attractions in a small venue, so how does it make sense for you? You're going to have Fabulous performing there, so I'm just trying to understand it.
We've worked the financials out so that everything makes sense.
And also on that, I mean, Rihanna's not performing. Is Rihanna?
She's attending.
She's attending the fight.
No, I understand.
Fabulous
is performing. Yeah, I understand. Fabulous is the one performing. But the fact that when the fans understand, the fans of these particular stars, Rihanna's a huge attraction. When they understand that she's going to be at the theater, there won't be. That was my question.
Are you saying in like we won't have enough seating capacity for that?
Exactly.
Well, that's a good problem to have. Creates demand, right? We're going to be moving. This is only our first show. There's obviously plans for many more shows.
Yeah, because with Fabulous being from Brooklyn and Angie Martinez is very huge in New York City. Her personality on the radio, they just attract a very large urban crowd. I'm more familiar, for instance, with like the Summer Jam, and you're not necessarily putting on that type of event where it's everyone performing, but you do have the names which are going to attract those fans, and I'm just wondering if it's going to continue to be this way moving forward to attract a new style of boxing fans to the sport.
That's our goal.
All right, well, thank you. And my next question is for Alex.
Yeah, guys, also, if we could, while we have Theran on the phone, if we could get the questions for him, and then maybe it's easier to do it that way, and then we can get the questions for Dave or the show questions done afterwards.
Absolutely. My next question is for Alex, if I'm able to. Alex, so I wanted to first thank you for being on the call, and I wanted to ask, when you coming into this fight with Tureano Johnson, I mean, he's a guy that's proven that he is basically on a world level with his fight with Stevens last year, and moving forward, he's been very active last year. How do you feel you're going to combat versus Tureano Johnson, being as though that he's a big puncher and he's very active on the inside?
Alex? Sí, él dice que tu competencia tuvo muchas rondas buenas en sus últimas peleas y que va a venir muy fuerte, es muy gran pegador y quiere saber que si estás preparado para pelear contra él y cómo te sientes.
Sí, yo me siento preparado, me siento bien, venimos trabajando fuerte, también lo estudiamos bastante, sabemos que se va a venir en los primeros asaltos con todo y vamos a tratar de contragolpearlo bastante y de movernosle bastante y aguantarle los primeros asaltos. Entonces yo creo que va a ser una pelea bastante importante y bastante entretenida para toda la gente que va a estar en el escenario.
He said that he is very well prepared. He knows that he's going to come with a lot of strong punches, especially at the beginning, and he's ready to face these strong rounds, and he's very well prepared. It's going to be a very good, very important, entertaining fight.
Can you ask him, has he watched Tureano Johnson's fight versus Curtis Stevens, and did he see anything that he feels he can capitalize on?
Él quiere saber si viste la pelea que él tuvo contra Curtis Stevens y si estudiaste algo, viste algo que puedes usar contra él en esta pelea el viernes.
Sí, vimos la pelea y creo que con una buena defensa que nosotros le hagamos y bastante movimiento no va a tener nada que hacer. Él es un rival que no tiene mucha técnica, que sabe solamente que va para adelante y que tampoco tira muchos golpes. Entonces creo que nosotros lo estudiamos bastante y vamos a hacer la cosa de la mejor manera.
Okay. He said that he feels that he did watch the fight and he feels that he does not have a good technique and he's a slow mover, whereas Alex has a lot of quick movement, so he has studied the fight and he is ready.
Well, thank you. That's all my questions, and tell them I'll see them on fight night.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions at this time, please press the number 1 key. Again, if you have any questions at this time, please press the number 1 key. Our next question is going to come from Ralph Loristi from Inside the Ropes. Please go ahead. Ralph?
That you feel has a similar style to your opponent Friday.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Have you seen as a pro that you feel has a similar style for your bout on Friday?
Sorry, the first half is cutting off.
Have you faced anyone as a pro that you feel has a similar?
Blanca.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, sorry. It's really bad service. I can't hear anything that you're saying.
Anyone as a pro that he feels has for his bout Friday?
We can't hear your question.
We do apologize.
Has Alex faced anyone as a pro that he feels has prepared him for his bout Friday night?
The question is, has he faced anybody as a pro that he feels has prepared him for his bout on Friday night?
Okay. Alex, ¿quieres saber si has peleado con un profesional que tú crees que te has preparado para esta pelea el viernes?
Sí, he peleado con un profesional y también creo que me he preparado de la mejor forma para esta pelea.
Okay. He said yes, he has fought with pros before, but he has also been doing a lot of training to prepare himself for this fight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, our next question is going to come from Ismail Abdul Salam from the BeatsBoxingMayhem.com.
Tina, this is Dave. We're going to have this be the last question for Theran so we can move on to the next fighter.
Okay, thank you. My question for Alex is, he mentioned earlier that he's really good with movement. Unfortunately, when some American fans hear that, they assume that means running. Can you have him explain the difference between his movement and what some other fighters do as far as moving and avoiding punches?
Alex, él quiere saber, sabes que dice que tú te mueves muy rápido, pero él dice que los americanos cuando oyen eso creen que es alguien que está corriendo, que no está como si él está corriendo. Él quiere saber, cuando tú dices que te mueves rápido, exactamente cómo es que te defiendes y cómo es que te mueves.
Bueno, hay veces hay que correr, ¿no? Cuando la pelea está que uno sabe que uno va ganando, pues a veces hay que correr, pero no, yo no corro tanto, yo simplemente me muevo en el sentido de que hago bastantes pasos laterales, bastantes movimientos diagonales, bastantes pasos atrás, entrando y saliendo mucho. Creo que y eso también hace parte de mi defensa.
He's saying no, that it's not so much about running, it's just the way he moves, his movements. He has lateral movements, diagonal movements, and how he's able to maneuver around the ring is how his speed is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Tureano Johnson has now joined the call, and if you have any questions for him, please press the number 1 key. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions for Mr. Johnson, please press the 1 key.
I got the water, yeah.
Our first question is going to come from Mike Woods from Sweet Science. Please go ahead.
Hey, Tureano, how you doing? Thanks for taking the call. You're one of my favorite boxers on Twitter. I appreciate you interacting with all the fans. I do want to know, have you done a scouting session yet on this guy, Theran? What sort of fighter is he? How do you expect to beat him?
Oh, indeed. We have already done our research, and yes, we're still currently doing even more research on my opponent. From what we have gathered, he's a tall fighter, a boxer puncher, one who doesn't like to mix it up so much, but he can if he gets the opportunity. So what we're planning on doing when we get into that ring is pretty much, outbox him, use more lateral movement and more speed and footwork, not so much as trying to get in there to mix it up with a southpaw like Mr. Alex.
You are a guy who likes to bang. You are a guy who knows the importance of making a statement in a fight. The fans love knockouts. It is what it is. That is how people are. There's no getting past it. I'm not saying that I don't expect you to try to outbox him, but I also do expect you to bring it to the guy and at some point try to knock him out. Is that not on your radar, not on your game plan?
It is in the game plan, but, it is my natural instinct. That's my natural order. I like to go in there. I like to bang. I like to try to get the knockout. If it doesn't come, that's okay with me. But we want to bring more spice to my boxing technique. I'm a boxer also, so I'm going to try to use a little bit more of the technique that I've learned over the years. Many folks haven't seen me do any boxing. Even folks haven't even seen me use a jab. So you'll see more graceful boxing as well as more technical fighting inside the ring. But, hey, my whole intention is if I get the opportunity, I'm going to knock him out.
And last thing, have you had any indications what the stakes are? What will happen for the guy who wins the fight? You going to get a title shot if you win this fight?
Oh, indeed. From what I understood, holding the WBC Silver Belt title, which is one of the titles that we are fighting for, I heard that's a prestigious title, one title that would enable you to fight the number one contender or the world champion. So, yes, indeed, this is the biggest step of my life. This is the most important fight of my life, and this I don't take lightly. This fight, the fans can expect to see the most explosive Tureano Johnson they've ever seen before.
Good stuff. Thanks. Appreciate it. Be well.
No problem.
Our next question is going to come from Lim Satterfield from RingTV.com. Please go ahead.
Hi, Tureano. How are you doing?
I'm good, Mr. Satterfield.
Good. Now, obviously, your fight with Curtis Johnson was a really exciting fight. I know you weren't satisfied with the way it ended. I don't want to belabor it too much, but how much of a bitter taste did it leave in your mouth versus motivate you for your last 3 fights? And are you mentally over it enough that you can really put on a dominant performance on Friday?
That is the fight with Curtis Stevens. Indeed, I must say I'm not pleased with the way it ended. Indeed, I feel as though that in itself was a disaster, a plane that crashed and burned. The biggest accident that ever happened in my life. I felt as though I was unfairly treated after that bout. What has it done for me lately? Yes, no doubt. It still does have a bitter taste in my mouth, but indeed it has given me even more eager and more energy, and it has given me the opportunity to say, what, Tureano, you're not from the United States. You may reside here and, in fact, live here as an American, but the fact is that you're not fighting in your backyard. So every time I fight, I don't expect, most of anything to be on my side. So entirely. My whole intention is to go in there with blood in my eyes. I want to make a dominant decision, winning every single round if it has to go to decision, or by fact, the ultimate goal is to knock out my opponent, not leaving anything to the judges or even having the referee to intervene. So, yes, I am more eager, more determined. I said again, I have blood in my eyes right now, and there's no longer will I ever get relaxed inside the ring, ever again.
I guess my last question, piggybacking on that, and this might be weird, but are you in any way better for that experience? I mean, you talked about boxing as opposed to when you went into the Curtis Stevens fight, you wanted to kind of prove that you could bang as well. Some of your previous your comments before the fight. Are you in any way better for that experience?
Well, I am, if you've done your research on me, I can box, and I've been, boxing, doing a little bit of boxing throughout the years. It would all depend on my opponent, if he would allow me to box or he would allow me to go in there to bang. But like I told you, I can't judge to tell you if I'm better. All I know, I'm going to be that Tureano to come in the ring to be destructive, whether I'm technical or just a bully. I'm just going to come in there to throw my hands to get that guy out of the ring. So you be the judge whether I'm better or not. I just know I'm just coming in there to do my job, and that's to knock my opponent out.
Hey, Lem, this is Gary Shaw. The one thing Tureano is not saying about himself is he is a fan-friendly fighter. And he is right that stoppage was, in my mind, improper. And if there was a different referee in there at that time, then Tureano would have won that fight. He won the first 11 rounds, hands down. But because he is a fan-friendly fighter, he wants to fight and he wants to give the fans something to cheer about. So I don't think you should be harsh on him. I don't think you are. But I want you to understand the type of fighter that Tureano is once he enters the ring.
I just was trying to get a handle on, I don't think there were few fans or writers or anybody who saw the fight that maybe thought that was a good stoppage, and I was just trying to get a handle on, how much that was behind him. And he answered my question. I appreciate you chiming in as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next question is going to come from Nestor Gibbs from the BoxingVoice.com. Please go ahead.
Tureano, how you doing?
I can't complain. I'm blessed.
You sure are, man. You're going to be on a magnificent card that's going to garner a lot of attention. Your last time on the big stage with Curtis Stevens, we all know what happened. What are you going to do differently to assure that on this stage with so many people looking, Tureano looks his best in the ring?
I'm going to be 3 times the Tureano I was in the Curtis Stevens fight. In fact, if you look at me now compared to me fighting Curtis Stevens, I was a nice boy. This time, Tureano's going to come out even more meaner, more stronger, more faster, more smarter, more slicker. I'm going to come out even more dangerous. So, yes, indeed, the fans can expect an exciting fight, non-stop fist throwing. Hey, sorry to say, it's going to be a very nasty, blood-shedding kind of fight. I'll agree on that one.
What specific changes have you made to your training camp since then and now?
We added more power and more speed, a little bit of technique as far as slipping, moving my head, and so on. And we just added more of what I'm naturally good at doing.
And now earlier you said to Michael Woods that you promised never to gas out again. What are you doing differently? Are you running extra miles? Is it 6 miles a day? What are you going to do to reassure the stamina issue?
Well, indeed, yeah. Like I said, I'm coming out 3 times the Tureano you saw with the Curtis Stevens. So, of course, we had to go the extra mile, put longer mileage in, get my nutrition on the go, eating properly. Getting a weight program, being able to get some power and some strength inside there, and, getting into the boxing game, being able to box when needed and go in there to beat up a guy when needed. So, yes, we went the extra mile in this fight. So this is going to tell Tureano, this fight, a big fight for myself personally, is going to tell me just where I'm at in the boxing world, whether I'll be a world champion for this moment or a world champion forever.
Now, my final question, being as though that boxing is a sport and a promoter is basically the backbone of a fighter, and there's a possible merger with Gary Shaw and Roc Nation, which can land you on what is looking to be one of the strongest promoters of 2015. Does that loom in the back of your mind?
Oh, yes, indeed. Working with Mr. Gary Shaw, as my promoter, he has been very generous to allow me to fight on many occasions, even recently fighting back in the Bahamas. Now, with the merger of Roc Nation and Mr. Gary Shaw, that possibility is phenomenal. I believe that would be the biggest move in the boxing world today. I think with the publicity of Mr. Jay-Z and the Roc Nation, where they're out there within all the sports and all the entertainment, they're going to grab a lot of the attention there, as well as Mr. Gary Shaw and his knowledge of boxing. I believe this is the most dynamic move in my life, have this merger be able to complete and actually happen.
Tureano, is your final goal a Gennady Golovkin fight?
Well, ultimately, yes. In my book, Gennady Golovkin, he is the number one fighter in my division. Be that you have Miguel Cotto and several other fighters, Andy Lee and so on. I believe Golovkin ultimately is the best fighter in the division. And yes, indeed, my thing is, champions ought to fight champions. I believe I do deserve an opportunity to fight Golovkin. And if the fans don't find it worthy that I fight him now, I'm with them. I agree with them 100%. But if they're saying that, Tureano, you need at least 1 or 2 fights more, so be it. But I know for sure, as a champion, I want to fight the best. And Golovkin is one of the guys. Indeed, I would like to put my power, my skills, my speed to not just the test, but to show fans and everybody that I am able to be the one that can beat Gennady Golovkin.
Well, thank you very much, Tureano.
Indeed, no problem. God bless you, man.
Our next question is going to come from Len Satterfield from RingTV.com. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just one question for Gary. Gary, you there?
I am.
Can you address the prospect of working with Roc Nation and what that means to you, and what your role is going to be?
Yeah, I will sure do an interview with you or anything else, but today it's about the fighters, Len. I'm sorry to not take you down the road that you want to go.
Okay, I got you.
I appreciate the question, but it's about the 4 fighters, and certainly Tureano is a spectacular fighter. As I represent Alex Theran with Thompson Boxing, and I think it's going to be a great fight for the fans. I think it's going to be a great fight for the TV audience, for the Fox FS1, and I'm looking forward to the fight myself. I don't think that many people understand the Tureano that's on this card, but I think on Friday, when you see who he is, I don't know if you all saw him on ESPN when he fought Mike Ravansky. It was a spectacular fight. And there are not many boxers these days that come out of a knockout loss like the fight to Stevenson and come right back and fight an undefeated fighter. So I think that's who Tureano is. I think a fight with Triple G would be a spectacular fight. I think there are other fighters out there at 160 pounds today, including Miguel Cotto, that would be big fights for him. David Lemieux out of Canada. I mean, these are all big punchers, big fighters, and all what I would say are TV ready and big time TV.
Thanks a lot, Gary. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lem. I appreciate the question.
Got it.
Tina, hey, this is Dave. I think we'll take one more call for Tureano, and then we will move on to Dusty, who will then be followed by Tommy Rainone.
Okay, there are no more questions for Tureano, but Dusty Hernandez has now joined.
All right, thank you. And just to introduce Dusty to everybody, most of you know who he is from Washington, D.C. He's got a record of 24-0 with 13 KOs. A very, very bright prospect that a lot of people are expecting big things out of. He's no stranger to fighting at the Garden. I believe this is his 3rd time fighting at the Garden, but he can confirm that. Again, with a record of 24-0 with 13 KOs from Washington, D.C., Dusty Hernandez-Harrison. Dusty, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I'm here. I just want to say, this fight coming up, everything's just been really fun about this event. I never did a media call before. I never had my billboard up in New York. The whole thing is just fun. I really like the way that it's being promoted and everything. So I'm enjoying it.
Any other comments on the fight itself before we go to Q&A?
I've been watching Tommy Rainone. I think it's a perfect fight for me to develop in my career. He's a new style I haven't faced. Like the southpaws that I faced, they've been kind of hard-hitting, come-forward fighters. He's slick, crafty. He's got some good experience on him. So I think this is a perfect fight for me at this point in my career. So, yeah, that's all.
All right, thanks a lot. And, Tina, we can turn it over to questions for Dusty now.
If you have any questions at all, please press the number 1 key. Again, if you have any questions, please press the number 1 key. Our first question is going to come from Dan Raphael from ESPN. Please go ahead.
Hey, Dusty, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good. Hey, my question for you is, this is going to be the first event that Roc Nation Sports is doing in boxing. They have a lot of big plans, I guess, in the sport, as many of us have written and talked about. But I want to know from your point of view, and you touched on a little bit in your opening comments, what does it mean to you to be the featured fighter in the first event that this company is ever going to do?
I said it before. I'm pretty honored. There's plenty of boxers out there, but this has just been great for me. It's my family's really enjoying it, my friends, and I am, of course. They see, you got artists performing at the fight. It's more than just a boxing event. It's fun for people. Hopefully they keep doing events like this. I don't see why they wouldn't, but hopefully there's more events like this. I think it'll attract new crowds, new fans. I think, like all of my friends that are around my age, they're looking forward more to this one than any other one. And I think it kind of says something.
Do you think, Dusty, that the exposure that you'll get from, like you said, your first media call, the billboards, going to have a crowd filled with a lot of famous stars in the crowd, a lot of media coverage. What do you think it does in the long term for your career? Because you've had 20-some fights, but you're still very young. I know you have a lot of aspirations for the future. How does this put you on the path to what your goals are?
I think it opens up a lot of opportunities for me, like outside of the ring. Right now, my age, I'm only 20. The sky's the limit for me in the ring, but I think the way that they, do things and promote fights and everything, it'll create more opportunities for me out the ring and be able to make a lot more crossover fans.
And so then what kind of performance do you need to put on then against, we know Tommy Rainone is a very tough fighter, but, not necessarily a title contender or anything at this point, but makes good fights. What kind of performance do you need to justify sort of the hype and the attention that the event is going to get?
The biggest thing I got to do is win, obviously, but second, just something that the people want to see. Make people want to see me again. Whether that's a knockout, whether that's just showing all the potential that I have as a 20-year-old. Just something that makes people want to watch again.
All right, great. Dusty, thank you very much. I wish you good luck on Friday. See you at the fight. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. See you.
Our next question is going to come from Mike Woods from Sweet Science. Please go ahead.
As a matter of fact, the question has already been asked by the very thorough Dan Raphael, so I'll find another one and get back in queue. Thank you.
All right.
Our next question is going to come from Lem Satterfield from RingTV.com. Please go ahead.
Hey, Dusty. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How about you, Lem?
I'm blessed. Listen, obviously you're a very focused kid. You have been since you were 17 years old, but you are going to be part of an event that has such mega star power that your guys that are your age, 20-year-olds, are probably asking you what it's like to see these guys. Can you talk about some of the conversations that have come up just among your cronies and how you yourself are going to be focused when you have such star power, guys from that people are fans of that are your age?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. One of my friends, they see the thing about Roc Nation, and they're like, like Roc Nation, like Jay-Z's Roc Nation. I was like, yeah, I guess it's, I'm still just a friend of them. So there's, it's a little, it's probably more surreal for them than it is for me. Because I know how much I've been in the gym and put in work, and I feel like I deserve it. But, it's funny to them, they're happy for me. They're surprised. They think it's, great. But, when it comes to fight night, it's just, I'm in the ring. I've never had problems staying focused when it comes to the fight or being prepared or anything. So, I give credit to my dad, training me. He keeps me focused. My mom, my stepmom, everybody does. So.
I guess it goes without saying that there are people who, like, for example, when you fight at home, and fans, like a lot of professional boxers, say that their fans try to get to them for tickets, and that can be a distraction. I would guess that it could be even more of a distraction in a situation like this. Who helps you to stay focused? Who runs interference and kind of keeps that part of that element of the game from getting to you?
I've got great people around me. Obviously, my dad helps me with everything with training. I have a lady named Tammy Crook that helps me with the tickets. We have a bus trip going up from D.C. I don't know how many buses we got at the time, but a bus trip going up. She's handling all the tickets. Mike Walters helping me, like emails, helping me with the media calling. I just have people around me that really help me. I think it's been about 3.5 years now that I've been pro. I just really developed the perfect team around me. I give all credit to them for helping me stay focused.
Thanks a lot, Dusty, and good luck in the fight.
Thanks.
Our next question is going to come from Jake Donovan from theboxingscene.com. Please go ahead.
Hey, Dusty, I have a two-part question for you. One, how important is it for you to take on a tough fight like Tommy Rainone, who's never been stopped in his career? And two, where do you rank him among the fighters that you faced to date?
It's important. Like I said earlier, it's important for me to develop. I can't keep fighting the same type of fighters and the same, skill level. So it's important for me to become the best boxer that I can. I'm only 20, so I really need to develop, the right way. And ranking him across the box, he's probably the slickest and the craftiest. To me, I think my toughest fight was Josh Torres. I'll be able to know more how tough he compares to him after this fight, but he's definitely the slickest, craftiest fighter I fought, and maybe one of the more experienced other than Michael Clark, but I'm sure I think it'll be a tougher fight than that.
Gotcha. Okay, and then my last question is, I know you're the headliner, you're the one that's on the billboard, as you pointed out, but Tommy Rainone is still in New York or fighting in New York. Does that motivate you to fight that much harder, just to make sure that the judges don't try to do anything funny?
Yeah, because I know when it comes to that night and they announce our names, whether they're there specifically for him or they're just there because it's a boxing event, when they hear that he's from New York, a lot of people, they've been there all night, they've been drinking, eating, they're just going to go crazy when they hear that he's from New York. And, subconsciously the judges might hear the big crowd, the big cheer every time he throws a punch or every time he lands something. So, yeah, it definitely makes me push harder. It's a new thing, like another part of development, fighting in his hometown. So, yeah, it's another part of development for my career.
All right, great. Thanks a lot, Dusty. Looking forward to watching this Friday.
All right.
Our next question is going to come from Ralph Laristi from Inside the Ropes. Please go ahead.
Hey, Dusty.
Hey, what's up?
What was your reaction when you were told you were going to get the opportunity to headline Roc Nation's first card?
I was excited. I'm really too excited for too many boxing fans. I just kind of think of it as another fight. But this, I knew that given Roc Nation all the experience I have in entertainment and everything, I knew they were going to have big plans for it. And they proved me right. So, it was exciting.
All right, thank you.
And Tina, I think we'll take one more question for Dusty, and then we'll move on to Tommy Rainone.
Okay, thank you so much. And our last question is going to come from Nestor Gibbs from theboxingvoice.com.
Hey, Dusty, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm great, man. I'm glad that you're on the call. So, I obviously it's very important for you to get this win, being in the first show of Roc Nation. But I wanted to ask you if you feel that what's happening to you is any comparison to or any similarities to Saul Canelo Alvarez, and when he signed to Golden Boy back in 2010, he was only 19. You're signing to Roc Nation, you're only 20. You've already had 20 fights. At that time, he had very similar amount of fights, and before he was fully developed, he was already with Golden Boy for about another 10 fights. Is that something that you're looking to do before you hit the mainstream and are ready for the Porters and the Thurmans of the world? Get a good at least 10 fights under your belt with Roc Nation?
When I turned pro, I don't know if that was the plan to kind of do it. It just kind of happened. If you look at, like, Canelo Alvarez, his one career, and Chavez Jr., the same, like, the amount of fights, the age, everything kind of happened the same. And, it works, I guess. I guess that, it kind of is a plan. I don't know how many more fights for the big ones, and, it just depends on me, how I look in the fight. I think, my team will be able to know more after each fight and how I handled each test they gave to me. So, it's kind of on me and, kind of how good I look.
Would you call this kind of this whole moment Dusty Harrison Cinderella moment, like the whole everything? I mean, it seems like you've been destined for this from the beginning. You have over 197 amateur fights. You've been selling out the WBC Center. You were the youngest, fighter to turn pro. It just seems like your name has always been attached to accolades.
Yeah, I think it's I think for who it seems kind of bigger to my mom. My mom really thinks this. I think it all kind of surprises her. I mean, she knows how much I did in the gym. She knows how much hard work put in. But I think me, I just kind of I'm so used to it now. Kind of just take it and keep going on in my career. But my mom, she's really enjoying it. So just happy to see her having fun. She's enjoying the fight. She's excited for this fight. So that means a lot to me.
And slowly the father-son relationships are coming back to boxing for a point. Some sons couldn't have their father train them. Can you talk about the relationship between you and your dad, who's also your trainer?
I think we got lucky. We went through so many problems when I was younger, going through the amateurs, that I think a lot of the fighters go through problems with the pros, that we kind of worked out the method, the way that we do things. If I want somebody else to wrap my hands, which Billy Briscoe wraps my hands, I want somebody else to do it, he's okay with it. I want somebody in the gym to hold the mitts for me, he's okay with it. As long as at the end of the day he's in my corner, which he's been in my corner every single amateur fight, every exhibition, every barn match, every pro fight. He's always been in my corner. I think that's what means the most to him. And, we both give and take, and I think we really worked it out so there won't be any problems in the future. I mean, we still argue over small things, but, nothing is going to end the relationship between us.
And my final question is, because of the seriousness of signing to Roc Nation, have you changed anything in training camp? Are you running the extra miles, or are you staying in the gym an extra hour because you know that all eyes are going to be on you from this point on, and what they've been able to do with their other athletes? It's just your name is going to be in the mouths of people that normally wouldn't talk boxing.
Yeah, the only thing that can change are like the things that you said. I didn't change up my workout. I just been doing it harder, more intense, and that's pretty much the only thing that changed. Is that, I've always prepared well for fights, so just kind of doing the same thing, but just everything's harder. Maybe sparring harder, more rounds, running harder. It's just everything's been a little more intense, and other than that, everything's pretty much the same.
I know I said that was my last, but have you added a strength and conditioning coach to training?
Not really. I like to stick to more traditional boxing. I mean, I do some strength conditioning workouts. We have people that come to the gym now, but I think the best way to prepare for boxing is active boxing. I spar. I've noticed that a lot of other pros from the gym, they don't spar as much as me. They don't run as much as me. And they kind of get. I think a lot of boxers get too caught up on the strength and conditioning workout, and they let it take away from their actual boxing workout. I mean, I do some strength and conditioning stuff, but I don't think that should be the main part. of your workout. I've seen boxers come, they do strength and they do conditioning workout, and all of a sudden now they don't have anything left to spar. They're not sparring, or they're skipping the bag, or they're skipping the mitts and stuff like that. So I like to focus more on the boxing workout.
Well, Dusty, I wish you the best of luck come Friday.
I appreciate it.
David, there are no more questions in queue, and Tommy has not called in.
Come on, Tommy.
He's calling in right now. 1 second.
We have a question from Jake Donovan from the BoxingScene.com. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for Dave since we have a little bit of downtime. Dave, just a quick question. This show, is this just a test run for the possibility of doing future shows, or is there already a deal in place where Roc Nation plans to present shows like this?
I'm sorry, was there a question asked?
Yes. Yeah, I know we're supposed to reserve these questions until the end, but since Tommy's calling in, I wanted to ask, is this just a one-and-done show for Roc Nation for now with the possibility of doing more future shows, or is there already a firm plan in place to do more shows?
We've already announced that we have 3 shows on Fox Sports 1. We're going to be announcing the other date shortly. So in the short term, we have 2 additional shows, and we plan on doing more beyond that.
Great. Thank you very much, David. Appreciate it.
There are no more questions in queue at this time.
Okay, and I think, thank you, Dusty. We appreciate it. I think Tommy will be calling in any second.
All right, appreciate it.
Tommy will be with us in just 1 second. Tommy has now joined.
Okay, thanks a lot, Tina. So, Tommy, I'll just give a little introduction for you. Those of you in the New York area probably know Tommy very well. He's a local favorite out of Long Island. Has fought at the Garden. It's either 2 or 3 times. He's even fought at Yankee Stadium. He's a big attraction and ticket seller. Another interesting fact about Tommy that I was unaware of until recently is that he has I'll call it a 9-to-5 job, but it's not truly a 9-to-5 job. He works nights at a Hilton hotel on Long Island in the accounting department. So he works at night, trains by day, fights by weekend. He's got a record of 22-5-1 with 4 KOs. Tommy the Razor Rainone. Tommy, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, winding down. This is all the hard work is done, all the sparring is done, so now I'm just watching what I eat and, getting my strength back this week, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to fight.
Okay, I guess we could turn it over to the media for questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions for Tommy, please press the number 1 key. Again, if you have any questions for Tommy, the number 1 key. Our first question is going to come from Mike Woods from Sweet Science. Please go ahead.
Hey, Tommy, thanks for taking the time to do the call. A question for you.
Hey, Mike.
You are self-managed. I'm guessing that's very interesting. Is that difficult? Is that a distraction? Can you talk about being a self-managed boxer?
Hey, listen, honestly, when you don't have, a promoter or a manager, or you're working a full-time job, all these things are distractions to a point. So to be quite honest with you, leading up to a fight, it's always chaos. Having to sell tickets and having, the phone never stops ringing and this and that. But, you get used to it. I've been doing it my whole career, so it's the only thing that I do know, and I'm just used to handling it that way.
And why do you do it? Why did you choose that route?
Well, not a lot of it. Some of it is choice. Some of it is by choice. Some of it is not. As far as manage myself, that's by choice because I like to be control of my own destiny, and I think I've done a good enough job. I'm playing in the main event Madison Square Garden on Friday night. So I always felt that I could, do, I basically, as well for myself as any manager could do for me. And why pay somebody, for what I felt that I could do for myself.
makes good sense. Why carve up that little bit of money? I appreciate it, brother. Be well. Have a good fight, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Okay, our next question is going to come from Nestor Gibbs from theboxingvoice.com. Please go ahead.
Tommy, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. So listen, Dusty is a tall, very young, long, and very technically sound boxer. He has shown one deficiency. He's been down a few times, so, critics may say he has a flaky chin, but you've only scored 4 knockouts. How do you get the win?
Good question. Well, listen, as I've discussed it before, as far as the whole knockout thing, the black and white of it is that I only have 4 knockouts. The gray of it is that I've hurt mostly every guy I've ever fought. I've scored like 15, 16 knockdowns in my career. But, fights like my last fight where I dropped the guy twice and I won a 10-round decision, all you see is the 10-round decision. You see another decision victory. You don't see that the guy was on the canvas twice. And then after I dropped them, I keep them honest and I keep them gun shy. And I know that I can punch. I know that I'm not a finisher, and I freely admit that. It's one part of my game that's missing. But the element of surprise is always there when I hit these guys because they're not expecting a guy that can punch at all. So I know that I will definitely get his respect with my power if he's going in there thinking that I can't punch. I know that his father, who's his trainer, is a very knowledgeable guy. I'm sure he studied me plenty, and I'm sure that I'm sure he gave him a little heads up that this guy might be able to punch a little more than you think. So the element of surprise might not be there as much because this particular guy, that I'm fighting right now, I think that his father is a very good trainer and that his father, did a little more homework than most fighters, trainers might. But that being said, I got to go out there and just be myself, make adjustments, and worry about the things that I'm capable of doing and fire on all cylinders. And as long as I do that, I think I have a very good chance to beat this kid. I can't worry too much about, what he does.
And my final question is, can you just tell me, when you close your eyes and you go to bed at night, how do you envision Friday night taking place?
Just like any other fight. I've had 28 pro fights. This is the 29th time I'm doing this. Listen, anybody that tells you that they don't think about losing, even in the dressing room before the fight, is lying. If you go into a fight with no fear and there's no fear factor involved, then you don't respect your opponent or the sport. So that's what keeps guys honest and hungry. My confidence is there. I've got an excellent sparring from excellent fighters like Chris Algieri and Thomas LaMotta and so forth, getting ready for this fight. So I put in the work with tall, long guys with a lot of talent, just as good, if not better than Dusty, but a little different in style too. A lot of diversity as far as the guy that was sparring, and I just put in a lot of hard work. I see the fight as being a chess match, and I really can see myself it's a mental battle that I have to overcome out there. I'm going to have to fight myself as much as I'm going to have to fight him. And as long as I do that, as I've done before, I'll come out on top.
Well, thank you, Tommy.
No problem.
This was the last question for Tommy in queue. If you have any questions, please press the number 1 key. Again, if you have any more questions, please press the number 1 key.
Hello? Tina, does it look like that's all?
Yes, we have one right here. Dan Saratelli from Brick City Boxing. Please go ahead.
Hey, Tommy, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Danny, how are you?
Good. What do you think about Dusty as a fighter? Do you think he might be your toughest opponent to date? Or if not, who do you think was? And what do you think of Dusty going into the fight?
Well, on paper, of course, he's definitely my toughest opponent to date. I won't know what's what until the bell rings, and hopefully he's not, But on paper, he's certainly, the most accomplished and the best fighter I've fought by far. I respect the kid. I think he's a good, solid fighter. I don't think he's a killer, as I've said before. I don't think he's a guy like an Errol Spence or something like that. But I also know that, listen, he's only 20 years old, and that, people tend to rush people, so the media's been a little impatient with him as far as, him stepping up. So, this is a step-up fight for him. As much as you say, this is the best guy that I fought. I promise you I'm the best guy that he fought. I mean, he really hasn't fought, he really hasn't fought great competition yet. And I'm not knocking him on that because, again, he's turned pro at 17 years old, so you can only expect so much from a kid that young. But I'm the best fighter here before. It's that simple. So it kind of works both ways.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
No problem.
David, there are no more questions in queue at this time.
Okay, well, thank you, Tommy, very much. Thank you to all the media members who joined us today. Again, Friday night, January 9th, the theater at Madison Square Garden. Tickets still available, starting at $30. We've got a great lineup of entertainment, fabulous DJ Mustard, Angie Martinez. Great night of fights on TV and off. We look forward to seeing everyone at the workouts on Wednesday, 11 o'clock Kingsway, the weigh-in on Thursday at 12:30 report time at the 40-40 Club, and then finally fight night at the Garden, 6:30, doors open on Friday, January 9th. If you can't be there, watch it on Fox Sports 1, live at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Thanks again, everyone.
And Dave, before you jump off, if there is any questions for Dave on the overall fight night, any of the other things that are going on this week, this is a good time to go for it.
Dave, I don't know if you got my message before, or if you wanted to give me a call back, but about those the ringside tickets I had left you a message about.
Who is this?
Tommy, Rainone.
Oh, yeah. I spoke to Greg. I spoke to Greg.
Okay. All right. I didn't hear from him. Okay.
Yeah, I spoke to Greg. You're all set.
All right. Cool.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Tina, if there's any media questions, if you want to do your spiel, and then we can get everybody off.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any more questions, please press the number 1 key. If you have any questions at all, please press the number 1 key. Our last question is going to come from Nestor Gibbs from theboxingvoice.com. Please go ahead, Nestor. Nestor, your line is live.
Yes, Dave, I just wanted to ask, what came into play when deciding to sign Dusty to Roc Nation?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
I just wanted to know what came into play when you decided to sign Dusty Harrison to Roc Nation.
Okay, that question's not for me.
Obviously, talent is a big part of the equation. He's a very talented fighter. He's also a very marketable fighter. He's a good kid, and we feel he has a bright future.
And
both in and out of the ring.
The fact that he is partially Puerto Rican but doesn't speak it, are you going to push him to learn the language a little more so you could sell him easier in the New York area?
Quite honestly, it hasn't come up yet, but it's something that we can discuss.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
There are no more questions in queue, David.
All right. Well, again, thank you, everybody, for joining us. I will see you later this week. Thanks again.
All right. No problem.
The Boxing Voice.